Tonight, extra support for local landowners impacted by storm damage. And more rat collection hubs open across the Spencer Gulf.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. Landowners across the Eyre Peninsula will now be able to receive guidance to repair damaged water sources due to last month's weather event. Provisions exist in legislation to allow people to conduct emergency repairs within 12 months.
A move to help our region's landowners repair the damage by an unprecedented weather event. The Eyre Peninsula Landscape Board now offering support and guidance to those who need to repair waterways or water sources.
Obviously with the floods we've had lots of damage in those water courses, particularly on roads but also on landholders' properties.
Permit exemptions exist for emergency repairs to culverts and causeways if they were damaged in floods. Standards must be met and the works have to be undertaken within 12 months. The board also notified of the works to ensure safety.
Our water affecting activities control policy has provisions for emergency repairs to be done. That's on the basis that repairs are done to an appropriate standard.
The Landscape Board is looking into funding options to help landowners repair their damaged water infrastructure. Last week, landscape operations personnel visited Kimber, meeting with affected landowners and seeing firsthand the damage to local water resources. An event, according to the Landscape Board, never seen before in the region.
It's certainly a 1 in 100 year event, maybe even more. So the level of damage that's occurred across particularly the eastern and northern parts of Eyre Peninsula has never been seen before.
More information can be found on the Landscape Board's website. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Police have located a man safe and well who had been missing for a week. 60-year-old Frank Pakravan was last seen in Cleve around 2 p.m. on Thursday last week. He was believed to be driving either an orange Ford Fiesta or a blue Ford Fairlane en route to Victoria. Police and family had concerns for his welfare. Dancing and stand-up drinking could soon be on the cards as the state government's transition committee continues to debate restrictions. Despite a slight rise in COVID cases, wedding capacities could increase back to 150 people, with dancing allowed for 50 guests. A review also looking at boosting home gatherings from 10 people, and restrictions on gym capacities may also ease. Meanwhile, new rapid antigen test collection sites have opened in the Spencer Gulf at Whyalla, Cummins, Hawker, Lock, Corn, Roxby Downs and Tumby Bay. SA Health has opened a temporary COVID quarantine facility in Port Augusta this week, but with the site now fully operational, local residents say they're concerned about the possibility of COVID transmission.
COVID quarantine up and running. This Port Augusta facility now functioning as a place where people without a home can isolate when infected with coronavirus.
Look, the facility behind us is very important. If they've got COVID, they need somewhere to go. But the issue I've got is I'm getting complaints or concerns from many residents in Port Augusta about the lack of consultation.
The site, located on Press Road, can currently accommodate up to 100 people at a time. But the large capacity of COVID-positive patients is raising concerns from neighbours who say they're too close.
I don't like the proximity of it at all, neither does the local residents. We feel that there's other properties around outside Port Augusta that could probably be more beneficial for them, rather than right on our doorsteps.
The state government quickly establishing the site as a solution to reduce the rise in COVID transmission between transient communities stranded in the city. The patients now occupy shipping container-sized units supplied by Humana Hut. The units are air-conditioned and outfitted with stainless steel shower facilities.
When they come out, do they go straight back to the land or do they go back to Davenport? Now, if they're going back to Davenport, do they have the opportunity to actually get the COVID again or spread the COVID out there?
As a temporary facility, SA Health says it will be removed once the COVID threat subsides.
We believe that this facility would be great, but we don't believe it would be great here.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, a new Bluff lookout attracting more tourists to the Flinders Ranges. And a 2022 Adelaide Fringe Festival musical set to hit Port Augusta stages. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Data from the Climate Council has revealed South Australia continues to lead the nation on the uptake of renewable energy. It comes as the state's gas generation fell to its lowest levels in more than 20 years. 66% of electricity generated in South Australia was sourced from renewable energy. Climate Councillor Andrew Stock says last year the state also had the lowest wholesale power bills in the country. The Bluff Lookout is becoming the ideal destination for tourists since its opening 4 months ago. It's the first major upgrade since the Southern Flinders Ranges was declared a national park, and more scenic tracks and views are on the way.
A breathtaking sight in our backyard. The Bluff Lookout, allowing visitors to look upon mid-north spots like Port Pirie, Port Germain and the hilltops of the Flinders Ranges. Traffic counters showing more than 3,000 vehicles have travelled to the Bluff since its opening, with an average of 40 vehicles per day, Sundays being the busiest.
Well, the Bluff is outstanding. It's so happy for me to hear day after day after day people saying, "Oh, I went up last weekend, I went up yesterday." It's just absolutely extraordinary.
The Lookout could soon see an increase in visitors when international borders open in less than 2 weeks.
Because government will be pitching this to the world. Come to the Southern Flinders Ranges. Yeah, come through the Clare Valley, grab your wine in the way, but the Southern Flinders Ranges is now a destination open for the world.
More lookouts are expected to be built along the Southern Flinders Ranges as a part of the state government's plan to maximise business and tourism opportunities.
We'll be looking at further enhancing facilities similar to the Bluff Lookout, looking for those other key features in the landscape.
With new foot and bike paths also set to be built to connect all the gorges and campsites together, creating a multi-day hike experience.
We're not finished. We've got $10 million plus to put towards the development, the responsible development of this land. Everything we're doing is about making it accessible and attractive.
Christian Komenos, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Port Augusta residents won't have to travel far for a night of entertainment, with part of the Adelaide Fringe Festival set to perform in the city next month. The production has travelled to Perth, Melbourne and Edinburgh, with performers excited to bring their musical show to our region.
A taste of the Fringe in our backyard. Adelaide-based musician and cabaret performer Deborah Brennan swapping the city for the upper north.
A Case of You, the music of Joni Mitchell, is an Adelaide Fringe show that's toured to Edinburgh Festival twice and is now having a regional tour, so coming across all of the regions of South Australia, including Port Augusta on the 3rd of March.
In the show, influential folk musician Joni Mitchell's most well-known songs are woven together in a narrative based on the songwriter's life, giving the audience context behind her greatest hits.
We think A Case of You will be a wonderful night, a contemporary spin on the music from days gone by and an escape from the real world.
However, the organisers say the concert is not just for Joni Mitchell fans.
For anybody who loves any of the music from the era of Woodstock, really, so it's like a love letter to that music of that time.
The production also taking the opportunity to showcase some of our region's greatest talent.
Myself and Mark Tempany are performing as part of the show, and we think it's really wonderful that people here in the regions can come along and experience a taste of the Fringe.
The performance will take place at Lee Memorial Theatre on March 3rd. Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Concerns have grown over flower shortages across the country for this year's Valentine's Day. But one Port Lincoln florist is encouraging people not to worry, with a range of flowers still available for purchase.
Roses are looking extra ripe ahead of Valentine's Day. This Port Lincoln florist ready for the busiest time of the year despite some misconceptions.
I just wanted to reassure people that there's not a problem in our state. There might be in other states, and that we've heard on, and people are commenting in the shop that here you've got a flower shortage and things like that. Well, we don't.
Wholesalers from different states concerned about flower shortages. However, Monty Ward says SA has a range of stock available.
Stories and reports from other states that there is a shortage, there's going to be a shortage of flour, and I think it's made a bit of unrest in the industry with flowers. But here in South Australia, we've got really good stock.
Due to the current COVID climate, stock hasn't been as accessible.
I think too, because of COVID, I think mainly the problem that was freight. getting it here because there's not as many planes coming and going as regular. And when you've got such a huge event such as Valentine's, products can be pushed back.
These challenges forcing an increase in flower prices. However, some wholesalers are willing to take the arrow this Valentine's.
Because the pricing is expected to be quite high, and I think a lot of florists have decided not to buy roses or things like that because of the price. But I think the wholesaler that I've been talking to is going to absorb some of those higher prices.
But there will still be plenty of roses for those looking to impress their other half.
Well, hello, always roses. I think that's the main thing for guys.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. The COVID-19 pandemic leading to a Port Pirie church reaching out to more locals. And a Port Lincoln Film Society set to showcase flicks every month. Hello again. Church worship in Port Pirie has increased over the last 2 years, despite COVID-19 restrictions bringing a halt to services. The number of church growers is continuing to rise in the community, among a mixed demographic of young and old.
Churches aren't going anywhere anytime soon. According to experts, church worship has steadily declined in some parts of the world due to large numbers of COVID infections, but that's not the case in Port Pirie. Pastor Mark Broadbridge has been a minister for the New Life Church for more than 30 years and says lockdowns had a major impact on service numbers. But now people are coming back to church.
In 2021, our numbers started to increase again, and certainly this year our numbers are good, and we are sort of hoping and believing that our numbers will continue to increase across this year.
Churches are trying new ways to reach out to the community as worshippers can't always make it to Sunday Mass because of work and family commitments.
A lot of churches actually became very much reliant on technology, and so even churches that hadn't done that before suddenly stepped out and started utilising different online platforms.
Most services are now live streamed, and the New Life Church hosts different group activities throughout the week, so people can still stay in touch without rocking up on a Sunday.
Because we're more of a contemporary church, we've been able to adapt a lot easier and quicker than some of the traditional churches have.
Christian Comenos, 7 Spencer Golf News.
The Port Lincoln Film Society is encouraging fellow movie enthusiasts to become members. The unique society will be screening all types of films on the first Tuesday of every month for local film buffs.
New screenings coming back to Port Lincoln.
I'll be back.
The Film Society Take 2 going strong, hosting a range of different flicks selected by a committee.
The first Tuesday of every month we have a screening here. It starts at 7 p.m. at night. We encourage people to get a bit earlier, maybe 6:30, just to mingle and chat a bit.
The Society expanding its offerings since its screenings outside.
For the first about a year and a half we held films, showed films at the one of the local sporting clubs, which was okay. It was great. It was able to use the bar facilities and things like that. When daylight savings came around, it wasn't so good.
With many cinemas shutting down due to COVID restrictions, Michael is pleased the Society was able to keep rolling.
With COVID restriction issues, the social distancing and mask wearing after that. So yeah, it's been great to be able to keep this up where a lot of metropolitan film societies had to close down.
Next on the watch list, Crock of Gold, a film about an Irish musician. The Film Society president encouraging people to come and have a look.
We will welcome anybody to come along for a free trial. If you don't have to pay, if you don't want to, you come along for the first night and see what it's like, see if you enjoy it. And if you do, free to come along. If you don't, well, that's fine. That's what it's all about.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Turning to sport now, and the Adelaide Crows have announced they'll be hosting a regular season SANFL game in the Steel City. The match will see the Crows reserve side take on North Adelaide at Bennett Oval in July.
It's an announcement that will certainly score many goals for Whyala's Crows fans. The team's SANFL side hosting a game at Bennett Oval in round 15 of this year's competition.
Well, it's always exciting to have someone come in and play here, whether it's AFL, SANFL. It just gives greater exposure to football in Whyalla and encourages the local players to participate and join in.
The game held concurrently with the SA Country Championships on the same weekend, making Whyalla the football capital of the Spencer Gulf. The city's mayor keen for the economic and tourism benefits the event will bring.
Whenever we have events here in Whyalla, it's always great for the economy, it's great for restaurants, it's great for hotels, great for shops, and we always welcome that kind of activity here.
The Bennett Oval match will be one of 6 regional home and away games the Crows will play this season. Whyalla also one of the team's NGA Academy zones, with the game hoping to inspire the next generation.
Those sorts of games are really inspiring, I think, for young kids because a lot of the players that will be playing in that actually do play for the Crows AFL team.
Ticket sales for the events will be announced at a later date. Mark Zita, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Our fishing experts will share their tips for the weekend. And we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. We'll be back with more soon. Welcome back. We're in for a beautiful sunny weekend across many parts of our region. For anyone eager to get out on the boat and drop a line, here are our fishing experts with their tips.
Welcome another week around the Gulf fishing tips from Port Pirie. Unbelievable last week. I spent hours and hours trying to find myself some blue swimmer crabs. Coming home with just a dozen. But whilst we're talking about that, the yellowfin whitings are a bit slow, but we've got a decent touch of hot weather coming this weekend. So we were talking about them as where we should be going. If you go in on the Talawi Beach area, you should be able to find yourself some coming out very late. I think if we go a little bit further down south, you should be able to find yourself a good feed of yellowfin whiting. That's all we've got this week. We'll see you next week.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel of the North. Well, pretty bog stock standard for this time of year. Plenty of crabs around, lots of catches of those. Been getting the odd she-backs, no use taking them because you're getting plenty of bluey, so chuck those back. There's a few silver whiting around. The usual tip there, try over in the middle banks on the low tide. On the high tides, try up around the shack area. A few salmon trout around the mouths of the creeks, and also the odd snook getting caught as well. And there's been a few kingfish around, mainly around that old powerhouse site, but you can try around in Port Patterson and also up around the rail bridge as well. That's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. We'll start over the Coffin Bay side. There's been some good reports of some nice sized garfish up through the bay system and also out around Farm Beach. There's also been quite a few small tommies mixed in with the gardies and some nice snook in that area too. Whiting have been a little bit patchy through that area. Out wide of Sir Isaac's, the tuna news has been pretty encouraging with quite a few fish caught, especially out around the offshore islands, and there's been some nice kingfish mixed in around the islands as well. Back here in Lincoln, the blue crabs have been running pretty well, and those dropping hoop nets have been catching a good feed. Well, that's all for fishing tips this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with the weekend fast approaching. Here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Ruby, and good evening, everyone. A beautiful day across our region with mild temperatures, but it is expected to heat up over the weekend. I'll have more detail on that in just a moment. First, let's take a look at today's conditions. At 3 p.m, Port Augusta was mostly sunny and 27, Whyalla was 24 and Broken Hill was 29 degrees. Looking further out across the region now, Port Lincoln was partly cloudy and 23 degrees, Port Pirie was 28, Adelaide, Kadina and Woodness were all partly cloudy and 23. Port Pirie reached 28 degrees, Clare was 25 and Cooper Pedy was sunny and reached 31 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite image now, partly patchy clouds, over the South Australian southern coast is causing light showers to mostly clear conditions. Skies are clear elsewhere with high pressure and a dry air mass. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. South to southeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 1 to 1.5 metres, and south to southwesterly swells below 1 metre. Cloud clearing in Port Lincoln tomorrow set to reach 24. Cleve will be mostly sunny and 25. Woodness sunny and 32. Sunny in the upper Spencer Gulf, Whyalla will get to a high of 27. Port Augusta with a high of 31 and Kadina to reach 29. Port Pirie will be 33 degrees, Clare sunny and 28, and Broken Hill will get to a high of 31 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, sunny across the region on Saturday, very hot in Woodner with a high of 38 degrees, Cooper Pedy to reach 37, Port Lincoln set to reach a max of 28 degrees, Port Augusta will get to a high of 35 and Port Pirie will top 34 degrees. A look at Sunday now, and those conditions continue. Sunny and 37 in Port Pirie and Broken Hill, partly cloudy in Port Lincoln with 27 degrees. Port Augusta is set to reach a high of 39. Cooper Pedy will reach 40 degrees, while it'll be mostly sunny and is set to get to a top of 33. Taking a look through to next week now, Broken Hill will be hot and mostly sunny with 38, mostly sunny in Port Augusta and Port Pirie, both 35, Kadina set to reach a max of 32, Port Lincoln 25 degrees, and while it'll be mostly sunny and is set to reach a high of 30 degrees. So not a bad looking forecast there at all, Ruby. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. It's back to you.
Wonderful. Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Thursday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. We'll be back tomorrow with more local news. Good night.